way back in the day, if you would have like taken an email and you would have just automatically inserted their name and their job position, like they would have been like, whoa, that's crazy, and been more likely to respond because they would have thought it was personally to them. But
Yep.
everyone's kind of caught on to it. So I think a lot of the tricks and a lot of the gimmicks aren't working necessarily as much anymore. So as far as the subject line, keep it real simple.
All right, guys, I'm excited. We have a special guest on here today. We have a rock star, Austin Homolka, out of Washington, and we got some big news. He and Garth Ward in Park Place are coming over to EXP and the Wolfpack with us, and that's a big announcement. And you know why? They built a brokerage, guys, and believe it or not, 4.5 years to 130 plus agents as an independent brokerage. They are some young up-and-coming rock stars. We got Austin on here. We're going to have Garth on here coming up. But we're going to talk about how to build a business, a big brokerage, and how to onboard people with email marketing, cold market reach outs, and how to use systems behind the scenes when it comes to building a business and building a brokerage. Austin, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on here. And let's talk about it.
Yeah, thanks, Connor. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, building a brokerage to 130 agents as an independent stuff. Building a 130 person team at EXP, pretty tough, but not like what y'all did, because we have the multi-tier model. We have the leverage of the company. Y'all did this literally from nothing. You started from absolutely nothing and built it straight up to something that was very impressive. Now you're going to talk about email marketing here. Now, before I dig into this, guys, I'm going to leave you a little hook here. Austin's going to give away a couple bonuses at the end of this. I think it's 2, possibly 3 things he's giving you guys. So you want to stick around to the end of the podcast. But let's talk about systems for recruiting agents. After you create the attention, you've been through the conversation where they're coming in. How does email marketing play into this? And how did you kind of build out Park Place? And kind of how did all that help you with the efficiency of doing so?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're currently a broker owner, I respect you a lot because the last 4.5 years have really not been easy. And yeah, we're really excited about the opportunity with EXP because now we get to market not just locally, but nationally and even globally. So super excited about all of that. But when I'm looking back at the things that we did to grow Park Place, we were one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing independent brokerage in our area. And there's a lot of things that attributed to it. It wasn't just cold email marketing or cold email outreach, but when I looked back to see what was measurable, what could I go back and say, hey, we did this and we got X result from, it really was cold email outreach. And there's a lot of different ways that you can do cold email outreach. You can do events and then send out newsletter blasts to try to get people to register and all that kind of stuff. You can send direct emails out to them for a one-on-one appointment. You can send them emails to offer them something of value and strike up a conversation. There's a lot of different approaches that can be used, and I think it's email has definitely gotten a lot easier over the last couple of years with all the tools we have access to. And I think it's something that's really underrated. Even if you're not in real estate, if you're in the B2B space, I think it's even easier to use cold email. And yeah, that's one of the main things that I would attribute to getting our foundation of agents. And then from there, we were able to grow it just by, having a good reputation, a good brand, and driving referrals from our agents. But cold email is something we've been doing for the last few years.
Yeah, so for like the audience on here, Austin, there's beginners all the way up to some high-level entrepreneurs making millions of dollars. Like for cold market reach out, can you kind of break that down as far as an understanding behind that? These are people getting cold that don't know you, or they came from like following you on social media where they follow you. So it's kind of like the warm market, or these are just completely cold leads. They have no experience with you. These are dry leads and you're getting these emails and just marketing to them. Or is there some type of pre-existing warm relationship or following where they're coming in from, and kind of break that down? So I think that's will help a lot of them understand kind of how you're marketing to these people and was their relationship ahead of time.
Yeah, great question. I wish I did more warm outreach because I think if you have a brand and people kind of know you, I think it's a lot easier to convert into customers. 95% of what I focus on is actually cold, is just straight cold. So they don't know us, we don't know them, and we're reaching out with different offers and different things and testing lots of different things to first, what our goal is to start a conversation. Just, find somebody that would be a good fit potentially as a prospect, strike up a conversation, and then from there, try to convert at that point into an actual appointment to see if we would be a good fit to work for each other. And I think one of the reasons why I like to really focus on the cold outreach side is because it's a system that can be taught to anyone. So, some of my partners here, like you, Connor, and Garth and Mike, like you guys have phenomenal, amazing brands, and those really do take a lot of time to create. And there's something you 100% should create, because when you get somebody that reaches out through your brand, that's amazing. And that's going to be a really easy conversion, similar to getting a referral in the real estate space. But what's cool about cold email outreach is that if you can create a system that wins, you can teach it to other people, you can scale it, and you can do a lot of cool things with it.
Yeah, and that's the secret to any business or duplication system is you have a high-powered entrepreneurs out there, they're solopreneurs or salespeople, and then when they try to build a business, they do things or teach things that they can do, but others cannot do. And if you can't take something that works and teach it to someone so they can understand it and apply it and it works for them as well, and then they can reteach it, it's not a business, it's not a duplicatable system. So it's very important that people can replicate what you're doing to scale something and scale something quickly. Now, as far as like open rates and conversion rates, this is just a quick question before we go into the kind of nuts and bolts. What's like a typical like open rate that's like seen as a good open rate? And then like what is probably not a high percentage open rate, and kind of where are you trying to stay within? And are there any kind of variables that would change this, things that you see people doing incorrectly? Like, are they using the wrong email service? Are they, putting too many links in their emails? Like, are there any things that you can give as far as like tips and advice for the followers to increase that open rate, that they're probably making these little mistakes causing it to not be opened or get buried into the spam category?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't put 15 links in your emails. That's tip number one.
Well, I should have met you sooner because I did all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, exactly. There's a couple of things for consideration. So first of all, are we reaching out to warm prospects or cold prospects? I would say if you're reaching out to cold prospects and they don't know you and you don't know them, assuming that you're in the B2B space, over 50%, I think is pretty good. If you can get 60 and 70%, I think that would be great as well. And that's assuming that you're not really doing very targeted targeting. So that's kind of getting some data from a data source, whether it's a data source that you buy or whether it's, scraping some prospects off the web and not really doing any research on them, but just kind of categorizing them into a certain niche and then reaching out to them. If you can get over 50% on that, you're going to be doing pretty good. If you're warm, you should be a bit higher if you're doing any type of like an actual outreach. Now, if you're doing B2C, like if you're a real estate agent and you're reaching out to homeowners directly, if you can be above 30 to 40% consistently for a long period of time, that's about as good as I've been able to get with my cold outreach for B2C.
Okay. Are there certain times a day that you see that's better to email? When you break down like your audience, some of you guys watching this may run like a fitness channel or like a comedy channel or something like that. People are going to watch you on the nights and the weekends, or business channels they watch like early in the morning on Friday, on Mondays, Tuesdays, as the new work week starts. That Monday morning warrior mentality kicks in. So it's easier to get people to show up to mastermind calls and presentations and things like that for business earlier in the week than it is later. Is it morning, afternoon, evening? Do you find patterns where the email blasts, you have a higher open rate or higher response rate when you're doing it?
So when we send out an email campaign, and I recommend if you're doing cold outreach, an initial goal should be to send out at least 1,000 emails, cold emails per day. And when we send out our emails, we don't really do them in the form of a blast. It's kind of more like, if I was to pull up Gmail and type something in and send it over to you, Connor, that's kind of the style of which our emails look. We don't include really any links. It's pretty rare that we include a link. We don't have a fancy signature to start. We'll put a nicer signature in there later, but the first thing our goal is just to strike up a conversation. You're going to want to make sure that all of your email is configured correctly, which is, something that, believe it or not, a lot of people don't do and don't necessarily know how to do. But if you don't have your email, configured correctly, you don't have the proper domain settings, like you can really run into a lot of errors for no reason, and you're shooting yourself in the foot. And then obviously email marketing is a very evolving space. So what works today might not work 6 months from now, or there might be adjustments that you have to make to it. But one of the things that works extremely well right now is we do a lot of email rotation. So we'll buy one email, we'll buy one domain, and we'll actually put a bunch of subdomains on that domain. This is something that I haven't really heard anyone talk about, but I've personally tested it and it works extremely well. We'll buy one domain, we'll put 10 subdomains on it. So we'll put like mg.domain, mgb.domain. And the reason for that is because the reputation of your email sending is actually based on the domain. And having a different subdomain adds some level of protection, which allows us to send a lot more volume from each domain that we do. So just to kind of put this into the basic rundown, we'll take one domain, we'll put 10 subdomains on it. And then each subdomain, we will send, we'll put 3 email account senders. This is something that I've tested that's been working extremely well. And each email sender, so each email account, will send about 30 to 40 cold emails per day.
Yep. Badass. Smart kid.
Yeah.
When it comes to like addressing the email, lots of different psychologies and mentalities on, YouTube titles and click-through rates and open rates. Is there anything specific? Are you using like emojis? Is there anything that you've noticed, big numbers, capitalization, anything that they can use in their title line to have a higher open rate? Or is there anything they should definitely stay away from to not be using that's killing their open rate?
Yeah, I think the subject lines I use are super simple. I would say that the subject line, it can help with open rates and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, open rates are not necessarily like the only thing that's important. Like the main thing that I'm looking for when I'm sending emails is going to be, replies, just getting conversations started and whatnot. But one that always works is quick question. That's one that you'll hear if you're in the email marketing space. You'll hear everybody talk about that one. That one just straight up works. I do some personalization, so I'll do some tag replacement sometimes. I'm kind of like gearing away from using their first name just because I don't think it really works anymore. Like way back in the day, if you would have like taken an email and you would have just automatically inserted their name and their job position, like they would have been like, whoa, that's crazy, and been more likely to respond because they would have thought it was personally to them. But everyone's kind of caught on to it. So I think a lot of the tricks and a lot of the gimmicks aren't working necessarily as much anymore. So as far as the subject line, keep it real simple. You don't want to do anything too clickbaity. Like you do want them to be interested and curious, but when they open it and they see your email, you don't want them to immediately become frustrated because it's something they weren't expecting. Because if that happens, then they're just going to mark your email as spam, and that's going to hurt your deliverability really big time. The other thing that I'll say is when we're reaching out to prospects, a lot of times what we used to do is we would like try to drive them to a landing page or something like that. The thing that we like to do now is test a lot of different things, and we like to test lead magnets. So we'll reach out to a prospect and we'll say, hey, we created a case study that shows you how to do XYZ. It's been working for this person and this person. Would it be okay if I sent it over to you? And the reason why we do that is because we're not necessarily wanting to just shove things in their face, but we're wanting to instead start a conversation. Once they, once they reply back and they say, yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. That'd be very helpful. It's relevant and timely. Thank you for thinking of me. Then we send that over to them. We'll give it a few days. And then at that point, that's when we're going to make our first initial hit to try to go in and actually book some type of an appointment to work with them. And if they take it, fantastic. If they don't, then we're going to continue to send them more valuable things and continue to nurture that relationship until they trust us enough to, work with us.
Okay. Well, I want to go into like patterns and, email sequences and links to these emails and things like that, just random one-off questions here and there. But as far as like what you brought up earlier about the not addressing the name in the title, I'm going to relate this to communication and business right now in a different way that's really important right now in the world. I train a lot on these types of things where like the one breath rule, if you're going to reach out to someone on the internet, it better be short, concise, and better not be something that they feel is generically sent to everybody. And I think in any business that you're building, not just real estate, if people feel that it's a mass marketing approach, they push back from it and they're trying to push off the call. If it's a cold call, they feel like you're just a name on a list, they're trying to get off. If it's not personalized, meaning the message being sent to them, or if it is personalized, like what you're saying, and they can read between the lines and know it's still generically sent to them, it takes away and actually defeats. It's almost even worse than just doing it the regular way, because it's like you're trying to say, hey, I'm trying to pretend to be personal, but I'm not willing to actually share the time and take the time and to look into you to actually give you the benefit of what being personal would be to you, the respect of it, and they see through it. It's almost worse. So it's very important that if you're going to reach out to cold market traffic, it needs to feel from their side that it was about them, that it was personally sent to them and not part of a mass messaging system. Otherwise, you're going to not have a very high conversion rate. So it's very important there. Now, like posting patterns and email sequencing patterns, what do you think is like a good when they're in the system? So you've got them in, they're coming, you're hitting them once a week, once a month, daily, a couple times a day. What's too much? What's too little? Where have you kind of found like a good ground for drip marketing and kind of dripping on that list?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of things there. When we're doing our initial cold outreach, we'll usually, do maybe like the initial message, and then we'll do maybe like one or two follow-ups. And then from there, we'll kind of figure out, what we're going to do with them as far as a prospect goes. Now, as far as drip marketing, every week, every 2 weeks is, absolutely fine. If it's somebody that's opted into you on and actually like legitimately like went to a landing page and opted in, you can be emailing them a lot more often and get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do a quarter sprint on our list. And so once a quarter, we'll hit our list really, really, really hard. And these are usually to drive them to some type of an event that we're doing. So we'll create some event, we'll kind of brainstorm, because over the quarter, we're testing a lot of different lead magnets, and we're trying to see what people kind of respond to most. And our winning lead magnet that, people are replying back to saying, yeah, I want that. We're kind of taking notes like, hey, that's something that they're going to be interested in. Maybe we should consider building our event around going even deeper on that topic and build it around that. So we'll kind of figure out what we want to train them on and what the event's going to be about and what we can give them afterwards to continue to build that relationship. And then we'll, build out a landing page, we'll set a date, and then we will hit that list hard. So that is when, for sure, an email blast, as it were, those just work at that point. If you have an event and you're pushing those, I would hit it pretty dang hard. I mean, when we'll start a little bit slower, so we'll send like an email, and then we'll send it another notification maybe like a couple days later. But once we get into like a week beforehand, we'll start emailing like once a day, and then up until sometimes we'll hit twice a day. And then when we have people that opt in and register for it, the main thing that we have to focus on is getting them to show. And so once they opt into our landing page, that's when we'll work in text messaging as well. And so not only will they get notifications from the email side, they'll also get notifications from Calendly. So we'll max out the SMS that Calendly allows us to do. We'll max out the email notifications that Calendly allows us to do. And then we'll go ahead and use our own little system that we have to, send out text messages, and we'll text them at least 10 times up until the meeting. So
that's really cool. Yeah. So what you said there also is pretty important about a lot of times people ask me how many marketing touches do they need, or how many emails should they send out, or how much money should they spend. And what I read between the lines there is that you should make as many touches as possible without being too many touches with running someone away, meaning you mentioned the way that they came in. So if they opted in, and I've talked about this, giving the analogy of marketing to people, the intensity of how fast you can push on them and how many times you can market to them, as like walking by like a strip mall or something where there's a bunch of restaurants, or like a clothing store. And let's say they're walking down the street and there's a salesman outside trying to talk them in, hey, come on in here, trying to sell them something on the street. That would be like, hey, we're emailing them a little bit less. But if that person just randomly comes in off the street and walks into the actual clothing store, they're basically saying, now, here's your permission to sell me, right? Here's your permission to get a little bit more. Send me a few more emails than the other person. So it's very important what he just brought up there. If you guys are trying to figure out your businesses, because if you hit people too much, you're going to push them away. But if you don't hit enough, they're going to drift away because they don't know you and you're not in their focus. So that's some really good stuff. Now, you gave a couple like, opt-in conversion tools. Like, what do you think is like the best giveaways and things that like y'all are, like, I know you're going to give a couple things here in a little bit, so you guys stick around for that. And he can help you with this, but like, what are some of the ways that you're giving away? Are you using like click funnels? Are you using funnel systems? Are you running paid ads? You're just posting in Facebook groups? Or like, where are you kind of give an idea of like a start to finish flow of kind of like how this would work so they can visualize it?
yeah, so we have run a lot of ads in the past. And when we were growing Park Place, actually during the coronavirus, we ran an ad on Facebook, Instagram, and then also on Indeed. And that helped us recruit like 30 to 40 of our agents like very, very quickly in a short period of time. It was kind of an arbitrage thing. It wasn't really something that we were able to, repeat or scale. So a lot of the things that we do that is repeatable and is scalable is definitely, back to the cold email. And so what I recommend to anybody that's looking just to add people into their sphere and into their network and start building that relationship, reach out to people and test different types of things. So lead magnets that we like to use are different case studies. So obviously we're in the real estate space. So a story about how we had an agent achieve a certain accomplishment and in the way that they did it and the time period that they did it, and then documenting exactly what they did from start to finish so that, an agent that maybe wants the similar results can actually go through that and see how that person tangibly did that thing. Other things that we like to do are give out little pieces of, technology. Like one of the things that I'll be giving out at the end of today is just literally a Google spreadsheet that automatically creates folders and automatically creates business cards. I'll take out some of our templates in there just because they're proprietary to Park Place, but I'll have a video on there on how you can actually create your own custom materials. So for example, right now I could have, Connor 100%, onboarded in a matter of 2 minutes just by simply putting in his name, his number, his email address, which office he's working at, clicking go, and he would have his business cards with his logo personally put on there, his listing signs, his open house signs, his directional signs, and some other things in there, as well as making a Google Drive with all these folders that keeps everything organized. So it allows for us to have, our onboarding system like very quick and easy to do. And, I could take on 15 Connors in one day by myself and, I wouldn't even break a sweat.
Well, you're about to start with your email marketing. You had a city and y'all pretty much took over that city for the most part. Now you have the world. So you went from, I don't know how many agents were you in Washington? 20, how many agents were in y'all's market, do you think?
Okay. So in Washington State, we had technically about 30,000. But in our part of Washington, I would say it's closer to like 18 to 20,000.
Yeah. So now you got almost 2 million. So
it's amazing. It's honestly been one of the most fun things. And, if I could add in one other thing here, I wanted to talk about this just a little bit today. One of the things that was kind of frustrating with running a brokerage is all the licensing, all the commercial space that you have to have. And then to top all that off with all those expenses, you also are very much confined to a very specific geographical location.
Sure.
If you have an agent and your office is in the wrong zip code or not in the right city, they literally won't, even if you're 20 minutes away from them, they literally won't come and work there. And so now having the ability to, serve and create and build to the entire world basically is really a freeing and fun experience for us.
Yep. So I'm a big believer. So I'm actually doing training on this here soon on what's called a phantom loss, which is a loss of income that we didn't emotionally feel. So let's say you didn't pick up a phone call. It was $1 million transaction. It was a real net difference. And like you just didn't pick it up and emotionally feel it. So it's important to understand that as you're building a business, you need to kind of track everything. And when you're looking at like a social media following, I don't think people understand that there's a massive phantom loss in this as a business, because let's say John Smith or Jessica has like 30,000 followers. What is the likelihood that those 30,000 followers are following you all in Washington or in your city or where I'm from in Dallas? It's just not likely, right? Yeah. So the phantom loss is the loss of income that you're losing by not having a global business model, meaning for example, at EXP, the agents you could work with in that social media following, if you're not in the real estate space, let's say you're not using your social media following globally, every person in that social media following lives in a different part of the world, but they also have a dollar amount that goes to their lifestyle, their bank account, and so on, which means they can buy products and services and experience things. So I think a lot of top producers and team leaders and brokers at CEXP realize that they've been running a brokerage, and if they're successful doing it in one market, they're massively limiting themselves because they can replicate and scale it into all markets, and they're limiting themselves because their skill sets are being tied to a finite market share. So they just need to take this skill set and apply it to a global market share, and it's just going to maximize that much more. So I don't think, until people think about that, how much they're giving up or losing, and they put so much money and time into building these social media followings, and most people are not even local to them to compete or to work with them. So they have to have a global system or some type of product or service or coaching that can be sold globally to maximize the effectiveness of that social media following.
Yeah. And I think, even if you're not even in the real estate space, I think that this is still applicable, because you're just one cold email outreach campaign away from, if you're a dentist, put some type of information product together about how you built your dentist practice, and then reach out to other people across the country that are in the same space and build a good referral network, because you'll have people that are moving around and crossing areas. And, I think we have to remember that how powerful relationships are, and other business professionals are already connected with very high quality, amazing clients. And
Sure.
if you can help them grow their business, which is typically the thing that they're looking to do, then whenever they get the opportunity to return the favor, you don't even have to ask for it. They're just going to send them your way. You'll take care of them like you always do.
I find people that have long-term business relationships and wait for that person to slip up and let that person down. And if you're constantly there waiting, let's say it's an attorney or whatever, contractor, private lender, and let's say I'm a house flipper and I don't have another house for this lender. Well, another investor comes in, they do a good job. You open the door for them to move to that person. They can take that long-term business. So it's so important to stay consistent, which email marketing keeps you in front focus, and, making sure that you're always in contact with these partners and doing the best you can. Now, a couple quick questions here, like list building separation, like you're driving everything to one list and then marketing through that list, or you're building, let's say, your agent attraction list for building your brokerage, but then do you send like your YouTube videos and your social content to it? Do you send, let's say you run another coaching company, do you market your courses and your affiliate sales to this, or are you building different lists for different reasons and separating them and keeping them kind of broken down for specific things?
Yeah. So a couple of things there. Number one, I always start out with just using straight up Google Sheets. Like whatever I'm doing, I will just use a Google Sheet to essentially build out some type of a database. And then as I go through any type of a campaign or strategy, I'll continue to optimize that quote unquote database, and I'll continue to restructure it and make sure that it's working. Once you have a system that is working and really good, at that point, you can literally take that spreadsheet and the structure of that, and you can actually get into coding, and you can code out a piece of software that can actually make your workflow that much better and faster. But I always start with Google Sheets. So, we're new over here to EXP. So there's been a lot of restructuring of campaigns and trying to figure out what our angle is and which lead magnets are going to be the ones that we scale, and then how many appointments can we take on, and then how can we get our team involved to help us run the appointments and help them, with the outreach and stuff too. So right now, I'm just, for that whole thing right there, we're just using Google Sheets, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can we make the tracking better? How can we make the analytics better? How are we doing over here? But, give me a couple of months of doing that. I'll get tired of using Google Sheets, and then, we'll either I'll code it something out, or we'll get a developer to help us code something out, and we'll make it into an actual software where I can log into it and see how we're doing, and, have kind of that manager owner's view type thing. And we'll have other agents that can plug in and actually see how they're doing and track all that stuff too. So that's kind of the process that we'll do for stuff like that. But what were the other parts of your question?
I was just going to ask you some random like fire questions that I know people would have. Like number one, I get a lot, list swapping. People like, people want to trade me lists. They'll trade me 10,000 for 10,000. I'm not even gonna give you my experience, but like, what's your take on all that for like young entrepreneurs and anybody? Because it's kind of common that I hear that.
Don't try to get rich quick.
Yeah.
And remember that the person that you're reaching out to through email, it's a human being. The tricks they just don't work. They definitely don't scale, and they'll hurt your reputation. I mean, you really want to, when you're reaching out to someone, be respectful. That's why one of my favorite, first of all, cold email, it's legal. I'm not an attorney, of course, but it's legal. And so we can reach out to them without getting into trouble, which is a huge thing. But we don't want to, reach out and upset them. We want to see if we can help them. And so my favorite approach, again, is reaching out with some form of value and asking them if they would like that value. If they wouldn't, or if they say unsubscribe or take me off, I just, I respect that and do that. And we do a really good job of managing our opt-outs and such. But yeah, I would recommend not trying to, get rich quick. And you really want to build a brand through email. It's the same thing as social media. How do you do that? By putting out high quality content and doing it frequently, but, kind of speaking to different parts of your audience and stuff. It's the same exact thing with cold email.
Yep. I was about to start water. I'm about to sneeze there, but I fought it back. But that's some good stuff there. So like, let me compare that to like house flipping. Like, you never cut corners. So this is like what I didn't realize early on. And like what I think is, so like people want to try to save money and like not fix like some termite damage or something like that. So they've saved a little bit on the front end. What happens is later it's going to come out and be found out, and now they have 10, 50, 100 times X the expense to fix it. So cutting corners in business does not work. It's kind of the tortoise and the hare strategy. You get ahead quickly, but in the long run, you're going to lose to your competition, the ones that did it right, because they're going to have career business. Businesses are built by doing right by people over a long period of time. And that's how people speak your brand and your words. And like, that's kind of like what we did over here at Wolfpack. We spent a lot of time. We did it in a lot slower way in the beginning than some teams did, which was kind of like mass blasting and, you know, big events and things like that. But we did it where culture was built and people, you know, feel part of it. But we're going to run out of time here. Let me ask you a few more quick questions.
Sure.
Servicing systems like Aweber, GetMail, or GetResponse, MailChimp, like what do you think would be one of the best email systems to use? And then what's your take on, you know, you talked a little bit about email to text, your opinions of one versus the other, to do, you know, which one's the best, or do they have to be used in conjunction with each other, or kind of how you manage all that, or your take on the comparing the two?
So I'll have links for everything in the, if you're just in the B2B space, I have a full training program that you can go through at no cost again. And then if you're a realtor, I'll have a crash course that will get your feet wet, but it'll have all these resources as well. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but I prefer to use something like Instantly or Smart Lead. Now, these are not email accounts themselves. These are systems that you hook your email accounts into, and then they will rotate all of the different email accounts that you have inside of your campaigns. And so those are the things that I use to actually initiate the send. As far as the SMTP or the sending email account itself, you can use Google Workspace, you can use Zoho, you can use Mailgun, you can use Mailer I use a combination of all of those. And you want to really keep a high reputation with those companies and do what they say and be very respectful of their servers, because if they catch you sending out bulk spam and just kind of acting nonsense, like, they will shut you down and you won't be able to become a customer of theirs again. So if they allow you to come in and be a part of their program, be very respectful and take care of it. But if they let you in and you know how to set everything up correctly and you know how to work it, like, man, I don't want to say it's free money, but it feels like free money sometimes.
Yeah, free money is good. Now, man, I'm excited, very impressed with you at your age and, you know, knowing what you've done and already accomplished what you've done. I know a lot of agents are going to want to come reach out to you and come work with you here at EXP. Maybe give a breakdown of kind of some of the stuff that you used to do at Park Place that you're doing for your agents now that you guys are coming over here, and some of the things that they can expect as far as like benefits to working with you and Garth, if they decide to reach out to you. And then I'll let you kind of give away the few things that you want to give away. And then we'll send everybody to your social media. We'll wrap it up, but maybe give it a take on the main reasons you came over to EXP as a broker, and then some of the things you're going to do for your agents. And then if you want to reach out to Austin and Garth and myself and Mike, we will meet you all on Zoom and have conversations about how it would look to partner with them and move your business over similar to how they did.
Yeah. So I'll be quick just because I know we're a little bit short on time. I initially did not want to come to EXP at all. And I am very, 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 very surprised that I did. We even used to have jokes about EXP going around my office, and I was leading the pack on the jokes. This was for years and years. And yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. I think everybody does. You see the hilarious memes online, and yeah, those are funny. But the thing is, you know, we had the Batistas, who are, you know, we worked with them back before we started our brokerage. We worked at the same luxury firm. You know, we were trying to prospect them to get them to come and join Park Place. And so, you know, Garth did the meeting with them, and, you know, they kind of turned the tables on us, and, you know, we weren't expecting to do it. But after kind of delving into it, we were kind of shocked that, you know, this was definitely going to be the route for us to go. It was going to allow us to be able to continue to get revenue off of our agents that we had worked so hard to build the relationships with, but it was also going to allow them to have either the same attractive splits or even save money, which is what we did for most of them. And it was just this incredible experience. And then now we can actually grow. We're growing, you know, this last month, we weren't even in like 2 or 3 weeks, we weren't even at the brokerage. Yeah, we hadn't made the switch yet. we added 10 agents. Well, we've been averaging like 1 or 2 agents over the last like 6 months every month. So we've started growing way faster. If you partner with us, it's not fair. It's kind of the best offer that exists out there because you get so many different amazing people. You get Connor and all of his wealth of knowledge and information. You get Mike Sherrard, all of his information. You get the Batistas and their social media stuff that they do. You get Garth and his sales and his persuasion. You get me and my email marketing outreach and my all my systems and all of our training. And I mean, our offering is just so packed out now. It's really incredible. So
yeah, I mean, it's I did the same thing. It's very common. Mike did the same thing. And if you're watching this right now, like, and you haven't sat down with someone at a high level, you know, like Austin and myself and Mike that are up, you know, doing things within the company, a lot of times what happens is the EXP model is a massive company. People just got the real estate license and they came in, and everybody has the opportunity to build it. So the likelihood that you're talking to someone that doesn't have the really high level ability from an entrepreneurship perspective to explain it to you based off stress management, time management, and dollar management, and everything in between, you might not see between the lines and see the value in it. And it was 2 years of me telling people, no, I'm not interested. And my mentality was like, I'm sure this is a good opportunity. Like, there's good businesses and good business opportunities everywhere. I didn't realize it was like the opportunity. And it took me 2 years to finally, I got lucky, is what I say, as I was speaking at an event with the number one guy in the company, and he was speaking at the same event, and I was forced to kind of slow down to look at it from a different perspective. And then it completely changed my perspective on it. And it's completely changed my life coming over here in just 5 years, believe it or not. You know, last year we sold almost 10,000 transactions. So can you imagine what y'all are going to do in 5 years? It's coming in with a little jump start, having some agents coming in, and also having agents that like work together and with the synergistic nature. Now, reach out to Austin. We're going to put his social media content or his contact links down in the description somewhere below this. Do you want to tell him about what you're going to give him, or did you kind of touch on it a little bit? Okay.
Yep. So best way to reach out to me, if you want to reach out to me, I'm an open book. Because I'm the cold email person, I'm constantly, you know, in my inbox every single day, seeing if people are replying and all that kind of stuff. You can send me an email, austin@parkplace.us, austin@parkplace.us. And then a couple of things that I have for you guys are pretty cool. So number one, I want to give you my onboarding system. So this is just a simple Google sheet where you can plug in, you know, clients or team members or staff or whatever you have to do. And it will give you a blueprint for how to successfully onboard them quickly and efficiently using Google Drive. So I'll have that for you. It'll be a template that comes alongside with a video. So how you can customize it and build that stuff out yourself. And then in addition to that, I have the Realtors email marketing crash course. So that's going to be more than enough for you to get going in the email marketing space, and it'll really help you out there. And then if you're just in the B2B space, I have a full training program that you can go through at no cost. And yeah, that's what I got for you guys today.
Well, how do they get it? They got to give their email to you, right?
Send an email.
Right.
That's it.
Yep. So shoot them an email, guys, and go follow them on Instagram. What's y'all's YouTube channels? I know you got a couple. You'll have
Park Place.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you for coming on here, sharing your time. I know it's not free, so you did a great job here. And this is a interesting topic that most people need as far as a fundamental skill set, and it's one that like they need the basics on. But it's also one that if they take the extra effort to become an expert like you, it can really separate them from others that are not doing it at that high level. And think about that with like everything you guys do. There's an education process that gets you to the basic minimums. And then most people that are successful do just a little bit more than that. But if you push past and become an expert on all the different systems in your business, you'll crush the industry and you'll crush it for a long time. Make sure to go follow him. Also go check out his partner, Garth Ward. We're going to have him on here as well. And then my other partner, Mike Sherrard, go check him out as well. And on that, you guys all have a blessed day and see you on the next episode. And we're out of here.